Good evening, VEDS. So a while back I made a video calling out for questions for a Q&A. And I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting to get any questions, and I kind of just put that video up because I needed to put a video up that day and I didn't have any other ideas. But I got questions. I mean, 75% of them were from Jesse, but you know, I'll still answer them. I'm also going to hijack a topic from James's Q&A, where he talked about Batman versus Iron Man, which is a matchup that I have debated a lot, and so I thought I would talk about it. But first, let's get to the questions. Who would win in a fight? The sun or 70,000 tigers? When answering, I want you to keep in mind that is a lot of tigers. Alex, this is why you're my best friend. And of course the tigers would win. I mean, 70,000 tigers is a lot of tigers. That's more tigers than there are on Earth. Can you even imagine 70,000 tigers? Like, whoa. It's just one sun. I mean, sheer numbers. Tigers win. What activity do you think would be improved with the addition of trained bears? So, if we were able to tame bears, every activity would be better. But I think, I think it's called polo, the kind of field hockey with horses. Imagine how much cooler that would be if, instead of horses, they rode bears. Like, I've never seen the Golden Compass, and honestly, I don't really want to. It just kind of looked like a lame knockoff of Narnia. But the bear in the trailer for that was like the coolest thing as a kid. Like, it's awesome. And they rode it. And imagine if you were riding it, but in a competitive sport. What is your favorite holiday, and what is your favorite memory of that holiday? Thanksgiving. And I know that there are a lot of political problems with Thanksgiving as we look at pilgrims and Indians and what would actually happen. I don't care about that. I don't care about the origin of the holiday. What I care about is the philosophy of the holiday. To take time away and to be grateful. I think when it gets down to it, it is this idea of setting time aside to be self-reflective and to be thankful to those forces, those people in your life that have contributed to you. Especially moving into the Christmas season, which can be very you-centric. As for my favorite memory, I was going to a Friendsgiving event with a small group from my church. This was freshman year. These were people who I'd known for about 4 months. I was struck by how this group of people, this people unit, who I had known for not a long time, had become very much a familial group of people to me. They were very much like my family. The way we were talking, the way we were approaching the day, reminded me so much of the way my family celebrated Thanksgiving. Not in the sense that we were doing the same rituals, but in the sense that the feeling and contentment of the room was the same. And I think that's the moment when I realized how much I love Thanksgiving. What's the nerdiest thing you own? And that's kind of hard for me because I've been a nerd basically forever, so I've kind of lost perception of what is nerdy and what's not. Even like, I have a Nashville Predators, which is a hockey team shrine to my right. Even that, I think, the vast majority of hockey fans won't label themselves as nerds, and the vast majority of nerds won't label themselves as hockey fans. But even that has become nerdy to me when I look at it. It looks the same as when I look at like my comic collection. So I kind of don't have a perception of what is the nerdiest thing I own. But maybe the weirdest thing I own that also falls into the realms of nerdy is I collect the Brendan Fraser Mummy franchise. This started this summer when I got the Mummy collector's edition for like 95 cents at a used bookstore because me and my friend wanted to watch it and see if it held up, and I had never seen it before. And we had so much fun we decided to watch the rest of them, but I couldn't find just The Mummy Returns, so I had to get the Mummy trilogy. And after watching The Mummy Returns, which isn't a great film, but kind of solidified this I love the Mummy franchise, so I decided to start collecting it. So the other day I got the Mummy Collector's set, which is really cool. Like, it opens up like this, and yeah, but now I have 3 DVDs of The Mummy, like the first one. I have 2 DVDs of The Mummy Returns. This one actually doesn't have the third Mummy, but it does have Scorpion King, which is great because this has the third Mummy but doesn't. But yeah, so I'm just gonna keep collecting Brendan Fraser Mummy things. Like, I'm gonna get the VHSs if they exist, and I'll get the Blu-rays, and I'll get any other like version of this. But that's probably the nerdiest thing I own in just terms of that's kind of weird. Now let's visit the topic that I stole from James's Q&A, Batman versus Iron Man. Very simply, here is how it would go down. And I feel very confident because I've thought of this many times. This is how this fight would go down. Iron Man could easily kill Bruce Wayne and would be willing to. Bruce Wayne would not be willing to kill Iron Man. So if he got the jump on him, and for whatever reason he wanted to kill him, he could. However, I also believe that if he doesn't initially strike to kill, then, which I don't think Iron Man would do, then Batman could 100% escape that, that encounter, and then come back later with a means to beat Iron Man. But I think what would probably more likely happen is that in this weird amalgam universe where both Iron Man and Batman exist, it would probably be something where Bruce Wayne would just kind of target Tony Stark. Since Tony Stark is Iron Man, there's no secret identity, so Batman will be protected from that, and he as Bruce Wayne could kind of attack Stark Industries. And as we've seen in the comics multiple times, if you've read the comics, it's not hard to take Stark Industries away from Tony Stark. In terms of like, what if Iron Man called on the Iron Legion? I don't think that would be too much of a threat. Obviously, if it was a thing where Batman was swarmed by them all at once without time to prep, yeah, he'd probably be gone. But let's say that he was able to prepare. Those are all drones, which he can easily take care of. They probably all run on a signal of some sort that Batman could disrupt or Oracle could disrupt. And if it came down to just who are their allies, well, Tony Stark doesn't have any close allies. He has the Avengers, but I feel like most times in Marvel, with the exception of like Spider-Man or like the relationship between Luke Cage and Iron Fist, the characters are really posed to not get along most of the time. This might be because I started reading comics around the time Civil War came out. But I think if you look back and you look at like even the original Avengers issue, their whole thing is posed on not getting along. Where with Batman and the Justice League, they usually do get along very well. There's sometimes a tension between Superman and Batman, but usually and traditionally they're portrayed as best friends. They have wildly different tactics, but very similar ideologies when you get down to it. Just different ways about going about that. And because of that, they have a great deal of respect for each other. So not only would you have the Justice League backing up Batman, where it would be questionable whether you would have the Avengers backing up Iron Man, you also have the Bat family. So you have several Robins, Nightwing, Red Hood, Huntress, Catwoman, Batwoman, Batgirl. If you wanted to do the non-superhero characters, Lucius Fox, Alfred, and then James Gordon. On top of all of that, you could also pull in some characters like Zatanna, who Batman has had a professional relationship with. But that's a little bit of a stretch. On Iron Man's side, you got Rhodey. That's about it. There is the new Iron Man. I think the comic's Ironheart. I haven't read that yet, and I don't think we have a good enough idea of that character to actually see how she would side with Tony Stark. But I think if it came down to a battle of allies, Batman would also win. So obviously it's whatever the writer of this scenario would write, but I think that if we looked at it logically, Batman more times would win than Iron Man. So that does it for my Q&A. This is actually the last time you will see me during VEDS. So I will see you guys next year. I mean, more realistically, I will see you guys, when you guys upload videos and I upload videos throughout the other 11 months of the year. But for the poetic ending to this video, see you next year.